Hello, hello, hello. Jordan Sheridan live. Status Coup with Steve Grumbine of Real Progressives. Hair looking
Ray.
gray with glory. You're a little shorter than me today. Maybe I'll lower myself.
Fix that.
Yeah. I don't want such a wise elder of mine to be positioned smaller. You know, Steve. Well, let me wait. Get people in here. We're skipping the countdown and just going right to this. Smash that like button. Share this live stream. The more people that press like, the more people that will see this fine silver fox. Steve, I had a completely different show lined up. We're still going to hit other topics, but this just came out. I don't know, like 20 minutes ago, and
with it.
I'm not a lawyer, but I think that Donald Trump's lawyer sold him out, which I think he should have, because I don't know why these sycophants have been rolling with Donald Trump for the last 30 years of crimes. But as I'm going to read to you, Donald Trump's lawyer seemed to have suggested that Trump lied in relation to the Mar-a-Lago boxes and classified documents and all the rest. So we're going to get to that in a minute. We also have new inflation news, and Wall Street is abuzz that the Federal Reserve might hike interest rates again. If they haven't risen interest rates enough, they might be rising interest rates again. So we'll get to that as inflation is up again. And actually, in the inflation numbers, you have record increases in healthcare costs. So that is important. And also within, what's today, the 13th? Within 3 days, we might have a historic railroad strike. We might have a historic railroad strike. There's over 100,000 railroad workers in this country. And as of now, at least 3 out of 12 of the unions, railroad unions, are saying that they're going to go on strike in 3 days, which would basically bring this country to a halt. And that's why Biden and his White House are in a frenzy right now, trying to come up with a backup plan if the trains stop running. So we're going to get into all that. One more time, smash that like button, share this live stream. We do have breaking news. So the original affidavit after this Mar-a-Lago raid that was released, the affidavit was used to get a search warrant to search Trump's country club there. It was released and heavily redacted. There was parts that were accessible, but for the most part, most of it was redacted. Well, the Department of Justice, I guess, responding to Trump looking for, wanting a special master, the Department of Justice, right before we went live, has released more of that redacted affidavit that was used to get the search warrant in the first place. And more of it is now unredacted. I haven't read the whole thing, but the parts I have read seem to indicate that Donald Trump's lawyer, or one of his lawyers, either knowingly or unknowingly, because his lawyers seem to be kind of dumb if you're watching them on TV, sold him out. So let me first, can we go to this Zoe tweet so people know what I'm talking about as far as what this document is? Because the existence of grand jury subpoenas was revealed in Trump's special master litigation, the Department of Justice asked for and received permission to unredact info that refers to those subpoenas in the original Mar-a-Lago search warrant affidavit. So in English, this is the search warrant affidavit that was already released with more of it unredacted. I'm going to move, Colin, let's move to page 18, where it's highlighted in yellow. And for the kids watching at home, let me put the document in the live chat if you want to watch, if you want to read along with me. So, and this is the first time you're looking at it for sure, Steve. And
yes.
This is about the second time. Yes, Ken Starr died. Good riddance. Ken Starr, who investigated Bubba over blowjobs, he's gone. He died. Sorry for his family, but not crying a river. Now, if we could full screen this, Colin. Grand jury subpoena related correspondence and production of additional classified documents. DOJ, and again, this yellow part is stuff that was just released earlier today, but it posted 20 minutes ago. So this is all stuff they have now unredacted. DOJ has advised me that on May 11th, 2022, an attorney representing the former president of the United States, former POTUS counsel, agreed to accept service of a grand jury subpoena from a grand jury sitting in the District of Columbia, sent to him via email by one of the prosecutors handling this matter for DOJ. So this will tell you that there was already a grand jury in May over Trump and having a shit ton of classified documents by the pool at Mar-a-Lago. The subpoena was directed to the custodian of records for the office of Donald Trump, and it requested the following materials. And this is just a plethora of fancy language for extremely sensitive and classified documents. All of this is requesting those documents back. The return date of the subpoena was May 24th, 2022. DOJ counsel also sent Trump lawyer a letter that permitted alternative compliance with the subpoena by providing any responsive documents to the FBI at the place of their location, and by providing from the custodian a, quote, sworn certification that the documents represent all responsive records. In legalese, when they say responsive records, that means the documents you were subpoenaed for. So responsive to the subpoena is giving the documents that you were subpoenaed for back. The letter further stated that if no responsive documents existed, the custodian should provide a sworn certificate to that effect. On May 25th, 2022, while negotiating for an extension of the subpoena, the former President Trump's lawyer sent 2 letters to DOJ counsel. So this next stuff has already been out there. Let's move on to the next page, page 20. After an extension was granted for compliance with the subpoena, on the evening of June 2nd, 2022, Trump's lawyer contacted the Department of Justice lawyer and requested that FBI agents meet him the following day to pick up the documents that Trump was subpoenaed for. On June 3rd, 2022, 3 FBI agents and DOJ counsel arrived at the premises to accept receipt of the materials. In addition to Trump's counsel, another individual, hereinafter individual 2, was also present as the custodian of records for Trump's post-presidential office. The production included a single red weld envelope wrapped in tape containing documents. I can't wait for the movie. Trump's lawyer relayed that the documents in the red weld envelope were found during a review of the boxes located in the storage room. Individual 2 provided a certification letter signed by individual 2, which stated the following: based upon the information that has been provided to me, I am authorized to certify on behalf of the office of Trump the following: a diligent search was conducted of the boxes that were moved from the White House to Florida. This search was conducted after receipt of the subpoena in order to locate any and all documents that are responsive to the subpoena, and any and all responsive documents accompanied this certification. No copy, written notation, or reproduction of any kind was retained. So in English, that is Trump's lawyer certifying in writing that they've given all the documents back that the DOJ and the FBI subpoenaed them for. Now comes the part that I think means Trump is in deep shit. During receipt of the production, former president's lawyer stated he was advised all the records that came from the White House were stored in one location within Mar-a-Lago, the storage room. And the boxes of records in the storage room were, quote, the remaining repository of records from the White House. Trump's lawyer further stated he was not advised there were any records in any private office space or other locations in Mar-a-Lago. The agents and DOJ's lawyer were permitted to see the storage room and observed that approximately 50 to 55 boxes remained in the storage room. Preliminary review of the documents contained in the red weld envelope produced pursuant to the grand jury subpoena revealed the following approximate numbers: 38 unique documents bearing classification markings, including 5 documents marked as confidential, 16 documents marked as secret, and 17 documents marked as top secret. Further, the FBI agents observed markings reflecting the following caveats: compartments, HCSSI and FISA. Multiple documents also contain what appears to be the handwritten notes. So, Steve, the part that matters here, Colin, go back up in page 21, page 20 at the bottom. Former President's counsel stated he was advised all the records that came from the White House were stored in one location within Mar-a-Lago, the storage room, and the boxes of records in the storage room were, quote, the remaining repository of records for the White House. Former Trump's lawyer further stated he was not advised there were any records in any private office space or other location in Mar-a-Lago. The agents and DOJ counsel were permitted to see the storage room. Well, I don't know who would be advising Trump's lawyer that all of the documents were in one central location. Who does Trump's lawyer speak to? His client, Trump? I don't know. Who else would be advising him? The housekeeper? The pool cleaner? Why this is important for people, that might be, what's the significance? And smash that like button. We got 260 people watching. Only 92 have pressed the like button. Trust me, we got plenty more to cover. It's not just Trump, but this just broke. So starting with it. Now, Trump's people on June 3rd, when the DOJ sent a lawyer, when the FBI sent agents, they told them everything's in this one central location. It's this storage area. Obviously, between June 3rd and August 8th, when the raid was, somebody in Trump world tipped off the DOJ that, they got a lot more shit. There's shit in his office. There's shit in his bedroom. There's shit in other places too. They certified that it was only here. That's what they're talking about with the obstruction charge, because A, somebody's lying to the FBI and DOJ that it's all here, and B, if it was all there, it was moved. But this, to me, I'm not a lawyer, seems to be the lawyer suggesting I was not advised, meaning I was told it's all here in one location. And if you don't believe my reading of it, this is from Ryan Goodman. He's a former special counsel with the Pentagon. Trump lawyer told DOJ FBI he was advised all White House records were in Mar-a-Lago storage room, quote, and he was not advised any records were in any private office space. Most likely points to being advised by his client, Donald Trump. Going on, Mar-a-Lago documents retrieved by FBI, DOJ under subpoena in June, like those retrieved in January, also contained this. Multiple documents also contained what appears to be Trump's handwritten notes. And there's a lot of video surveillance evidence here. The initial DOJ subpoena for Mar-a-Lago surveillance video photographs was sent on June 24, 2022, and asked for all surveillance from the time period of January 10th to present. So that is to June. All surveillance, video images, photographs, and CCTV from internal cameras located on the ground floor basement on the Mar-a-Lago property. George Conway, Kellyanne's husband, not someone I really particularly like, but he is a lawyer. According to a newly unredacted portion of the Mar-a-Lago search warrant affidavit, Trump's lawyer squarely points the finger at Trump. File under obstruction of justice, 18 USC 1519. Hate to say I told you so, but this is what I was saying weeks ago. I'm pretty sure the informants for the FBI, it's either the Secret Service or Trump's lawyers, and my money's on Trump's lawyer, because unless you're Sidney Powell or like Rudy Giuliani style lawyers who are kind of just winging it and don't particularly care about laws, most lawyers don't willingly lie to the FBI because that's a crime. Most lawyers don't willingly lie to the DOJ because that's a crime. So my guess is the lawyers were misled by Trump. They certified, oh yeah, we've given you back all the documents. Then for whoever or however they found out, oh no, there's plenty of stuff here, here, and here, and they tipped off the FBI. I don't know your thoughts, because I know you disagreed with me last time. You don't see Trump getting prosecuted. I have to look at everything the DOJ is releasing, everything the FBI is releasing. I don't know how you release all this shit and then just be like, yeah, this was just a transparency exercise. If it were anyone else, he'd be in jail, but sorry, it's Trump.
I mean, they found it in the bathroom, right in the magazine rack, and they found it by the refrigerator where all the Chinese food and the restaurant menus are, and they had different things all over the house. That's all I can envision. Jordan, I have absolutely no idea what they're expecting to find here. I mean, I've read everything from the nuclear codes, which is obviously hyperbole, all the way over to Ukraine stuff. I mean, my curiosity here is how do you have top secret documents laying all over the house, just sort of randomly all over the place? To me, that's bespeaks somebody who didn't wash their hands after they went piss, not so much a mad a mad scientist brewing stuff with these documents. I think the guy's a freaking bumbling buffoon, honestly. I think that I don't see anything here. I could be wrong. I mean, they may find a way. And by the way, as a side note, Kenneth Starr used to sit behind me in church when I was a Republican still. And
Wow.
so when I sitting there at McLean Bible Church, getting my daughter baptized, I went down, they said, stand up. I stood up and I looked behind me and there was Kenneth Starr behind me. That's my Kenneth Starr story. Later on that night, my daughter and I, father-daughter dance. He was with his granddaughter. That's the beginning and the ending of my Mar-a-Lago and my Kenneth Starr knowledge right there. Honest to God, no idea what to make of these documents at all. Zero.
So a few things. Number one, even if that were so, I don't actually think it matters if this is just Trump being a buffoon. I mean, it's still a crime. He doesn't have ownership of these classified documents. So
absolutely,
even if he just threw shit in a box, which I don't think is the case, it's still a crime. Number two, I am somebody, and people who watch Status Coup know, and I want to be consistent. I don't tell you automatically believe what the FBI, the CIA, any of these people tell you. I ask for evidence. With that said, I mean, it would be a real Houdini act for them to be filing all of these court documents. I mean, it is a crime to lie and, court documents, if they actually didn't have these documents or they didn't find these documents. I think it's very clear, particularly with the Washington Post stories, on the fact that they found documents pertaining to a foreign country's nuclear programs. Who knows if it was an ally, if it was an enemy. That was a leak from the FBI and the Department of Justice. Who else is the Washington Post getting that from? I'm inclined to believe it because, again, if they're going to prosecute him, they're going to have to provide this evidence. Now, they might not provide the evidence in terms of who the country was. They could say, well, sources and methods, but there's also also reporting, again, fed to them by the DOJ, FBI, that they found documents about human sources, which are spies. So I could possibly see this like when Trump was president, them trying to pit it to him for the theories that, oh, this is a cabal and the deep state is after him. I don't think they're making up that they found it. Not that I'm saying this is what you're saying. I don't think they're making up that these were the documents they found. And I think the fact that they took this step to raid a former president, even a buffoon, to me, I see a link. Stick with me for a second. Again, this is speculation, but these are facts. In October of last year, it was reported that there was an increase in U.S. spies being killed. In October of last year, Trump left office in January. Now, I don't have any evidence that the two are directly correlated.
Right.
But if the DOJ and FBI are tipped off, he's got a fucking treasure trove of documents. We don't know what it is. Or they're tipped off. We think he might have these documents, this, that. It's not only a criminal investigation into Trump at that point. It's we need to get these fucking documents back because we don't know who the hell is going into Mar-a-Lago. It could be anyone from, the guy from Duck Dynasty or a foreign dignitary, right? So to me, the most important thing is to get a search warrant to raid him, you had to show probable cause, which means you had to provide evidence that he had these documents. Obviously, if they provided evidence that they had these documents, they got informants inside Trump's world. And I think about why somebody would sell Donald Trump out. You got the Secret Service, who by law have to report crimes if they see it, or his lawyers. Now, I don't know. There's plenty of crimes the Secret Service could have reported Trump for when he was president. So to me, I don't know. I don't think it was the Secret Service. If his lawyers had certified, yeah, we've given you everything back, and they find out, oh, they haven't, to me, it would be a lawyer covering their own ass. But why this is important? Not that, well, he might become the next president, so it is relevant.
Right. That's what, now you're in the sweet spot.
But why this is important is, I have said this repeatedly. We live in the United Corporations of America, real quick, flags behind me, and wealthy white men get away with all sorts of things, murder included. And when they are convicted, Steve, I'm talking Jeffrey Epstein, they get wonderful bed and breakfast style prisons. Remember his first day in prison? He was allowed out to work at his home office, where young girls continued to give him massages while he was a prisoner. And then his second go around, he killed himself. So that was Epstein. What's his face? The farmer bro, Martin Scarelli. He was in and out of prison in 3 years. The list goes on of wealthy white people who have gotten light sentences. However, Steve, I don't know. You're a little older than I. There's a long track record of folks that piss off the CIA and FBI. I'm not defending these terrible agencies. If it were up to me, I say toss the CIA first, and then the FBI. But when you piss off the CIA and FBI, typically you're on a list. Go ask John F. Kennedy about that. Julian Assange, Edward Snowden. I mean, we could go on. I think the CIA and the FBI and the DOJ, the rank and file people, are incensed that Donald Trump had this stuff, whether it was buffoonery or intentional. The reason I think it was intentional and he knew about it, they found classified documents in his desk. So unless you want to say it was Professor Plum and, those old clue books, somebody put this shit in his desk. Somebody put this stuff in his room. I don't see why it wouldn't be him. And this is speculation. Would you put it past Donald Trump with the Southern District of New York investigating him, the Attorney General of New York investigating him, the Georgia prosecutor investigating him, the DOJ is investigating him for January 6th. His charity is being investigated. And now this, would you put it past Donald Trump to hold his leverage, some stuff that if it got out, the United States government would find that very bad? So that's all I'm saying.
Not at all.
And I think
very probable.
Colin, if you could do another poll, I think he's going to be prosecuted. I'd be happy to have egg on my face. But I don't see how you could have credibility at this point. If you are the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, the FBI, if you put out all this shit, and then you say, well, what are you going to say for why you didn't charge him? Well, we did an exhaustive investigation, and, we realized it was actually his son, Barron, who was toying with the documents. Barron put it in his desk. Barron lied to the FBI, or it was
the parliamentarian did it.
It was the parliamentarian. It was the lawnmower guy. I mean, and by the way, they are systematically, they don't have to keep putting out this information. They're putting out this information, I think, to make their case. So any parting thoughts before we move on?
I honestly, I am very interested in knowing why they're chasing after this stuff, to be fair. I mean, the scenario you painted out there, him having leverage, is a very real one. The other one is, some sort of barter or trade for, getting out of jail kind of thing. I'll do this if you'll do that. And then they come up with some off the books type deal. But I've seen this happen many times to the Clintons and to others. And at the end of the day, it just sort of stops happening, sort of vanishes. Nothing really happens. And it usually ends up being something. There was another reason that we have no idea about that was going on behind the scenes. That's my concern. Is that I would like to know why or what, if this is even a real thing. I'll be honest with you. What I'm looking at with Trump is that he is a very real threat in 2024. His backers are more rabid, and I say rabid almost like jealously, right? That they support this guy. What if the left had somebody that we support? Oh, I mean, like Bernie, and he could actually get elected as opposed to this trash, right? But that said, I have seen these kinds of witch hunts go on, and then when the election is over or the damage is done, there's enough damage done or whatever, then all of a sudden they find a way to pull back and it's gone, and they're like, he's a wounded duck. We have nothing to worry about. Move on to the next subject. So I think this is political. I think this is a direct attack to make sure that he doesn't. And I think that it's a bipartisan attack on Trump, because I think a lot of the old guard Republicans want nothing better than to get him the hell out of politics altogether. So I see this as being the establishment saying we've had enough of Trump and we don't want to have another shot at him coming back around. But I don't have any more information than you do, Jordan. In fact, I probably have less. It's all speculation right there.
Yeah.
True hot take.
Yeah. I don't agree with you. The reason the reason I don't agree is simple. I mean, they took, at least legally. Hey, I've covered legal stuff with Flint. I mean, they took every effort to do this out of the public eye. I mean, they were the National Archives was grappling with him for over a year. Can you please kindly give us these documents back? Then they served him a subpoena, which was not public. It was sealed. And at some point, they realized, oh, he's lying to us. So to me, you could make the case that the way they're going about it, like drip, 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 releasing this stuff, might be political. But
that's all we got to go on.
Yeah, the actual act of raiding his compound, I don't really know what choice you have if they're lying to you. Because at that point, if they're lying to you, what other thing does the DOJ or FBI have to go on other than, well, he's hiding these documents and what is he using them for? So we'll see. But I think, listen, it's September 13th. The midterms is in less than 2 months. I think if they're going to charge him, it's not going to be before the midterms. But it's very possibly going to be right after the midterms, because I think this is a race against time at this point. I think Trump wants to announce he's running for president before the midterms. I think Mitch McConnell, the Republican establishment, is trying very, very hard to get him not to do that, because they know he could be bad for Republicans' chances in the midterms. And I think that if Republicans retake the House, Donald Trump will announce he's running for president again, possibly that night or the next morning, because then you have this absolute carnival of he's going to be running if the DOJ prosecuted him. I mean, could you think of a better thing to run on to activate his base? The deep state's trying to stop us from making America great again, right? So, yeah, it's a race against time. But honestly, I think he's one clumsy criminal. I think his lawyers are clumsy. And it should go without saying, if you or I or anyone in the chat had any of this shit on us, they throw away the key. So we'll see. But all I got to say, it might be premature, but I'm going to do it anyway. Hold on.
Breaking news.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Bing, 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 bing.
All right. Good. All right. Moving on. Smash that like button. Share this live stream. Obviously, if anything else develops while we're live, we'll tell you. Major. This is not going to get a lot of attention in corporate media, but there could be a historic, we're talking tens of thousands of workers that go on strike as soon as Friday. This is the Railroad Workers of America. There's over 100,000 railroad workers. And before you tune out, this will affect everybody if the trains stop running. I'm talking everybody in America will be affected if railroad workers go on strike. And I sure hope they do, frankly.
Absolutely.
I'll read the first Washington Post story. Freight rail strike threatens supply chains, prompting White House planning. Federally mandated cooling off period between the rail carriers and the rail workers. Cooling off period ends Friday, opening a possibility of a nationwide strike. Just to give people a little background, essentially the railroad workers, besides being paid shit for years, have been without a contract for 3 years. They're not making good money, and they basically have no firm days off. And they even have been threatened with termination if they leave work to go to a doctor's appointment. I mean, we're talking worker exploitation run amok. I've talked to railroad workers who, have gotten divorced because they can't be there for their family and their wives were fed up. So just horrible conditions, horrible schedules, and pay that is not even close to their level, and inflation. A national railroad strike could derail critical deliveries of chlorine to wastewater treatment plants and coal to utility plants, among other potentially crippling disruptions, prompting senior White House aides on Tuesday to review contingency options for protecting the nation's drinking water and energy supply. Oh, I'm so happy they're suddenly worried about the drinking supply. White House aides are looking at how to ensure essential products carried by rail, food, energy, and key health products could still reach their destinations, even in the event of a strike. Senior officials have looked at how highways, ports, and waterways can be used to offset any damage caused, while also talking to top officials in the shipping, freight, and logistics industries. Biden was briefed on the matter Tuesday morning after he called the carriers and unions on Monday to press them to accept the deal. A White House official said senior officials at the White House are now leading daily meetings with the Department of Agriculture, Transportation, and Energy, and other top agencies about how to mitigate the impact. So the other part of this is essentially, this is not unique to Joe Biden, but in the past, presidents have appointed what they call presidential emergency boards, PEB, that act as the liaisons between the greedy railroad CEOs. By the way, they're making record profits, shockingly, and the rail workers and unions. So Biden's presidential board made a list of, I think it was over 100 recommendations to bridge the gap between the two sides. Shockingly, they were mostly tilted towards the rail CEOs because, Biden's a union guy and all. So at least 3 out of the 12 major railroad unions are planning, based on the sources I have, 2 high ups in the railroad are planning on rejecting the tentative contract agreement. So if 3 out of 12 go on strike, those trains aren't going to run. And typically, even the workers that don't physically go on strike, it's a long, convoluted thing, but it's a messy bureaucracy, even through unions, including, when you have as many as 12 in one industry. Even the ones that don't go on strike, they will respect and, we think, not cross the line and continue working. So they might not physically be on strike, but they won't work. So this is a big deal. Biden actually stepped in about 2 months ago to stop the rail workers from going on strike, appointing this board. And from rail workers I spoke with, he basically has been, siding with the CEOs. Colin, do we have any of that clip from my interview with the head of Railroad Workers United a couple of weeks ago?
As it turned out, the very next day, August 17th, we awoke to a jubilant rail industry. Its mouthpieces, the American Association of Railroads, and its bargaining wing, the National Carriers Conference Committee, were both crowing about that this was fair and equitable, and they were ready to move forward under the basis of these recommendations. The unions, on the other hand, and the rank and file in particular, not so happy. If you read the summary, and Railroad Workers United just came out with a bulletin yesterday morning that summarizes quite nicely the PEB's position on most work rule questions. So leaving aside wages and healthcare for the moment, on the question of work rules, pretty much everything that the 12 different crafts and the 12 different unions asked for, the PEB basically had 2 responses. One was go back and continue to bargain, which is kind of ironic since the PEB is in place because bargaining has gone nowhere for 2.5 years I'm not sure what makes the PEB believe that going back to the bargaining table is necessarily going to achieve a whole lot at this point. But yeah, their response is either go back to the bargaining table and bargain this with the carriers, or simply withdraw the proposal. And that was the response to about a dozen or more requests from the myriad unions for changes in work rules. And the thing we got to understand here, Jordan, and the industry will never fess up to this and bring this out. The industry likes to say, look, we give these guys 4 or 5 weeks vacation. True, if you have 15, 20, or 25 years, that's first thing on the vacation. Oh, we give these guys 12 personal days. Once again, true, but you build up to that over 10, 20, 30 years of seniority to get those personal days. Then they'll say that they have holidays. Well, true, some crafts, particularly in the yard, will get paid, but that doesn't mean you get the day off. So when we're talking about time off, holidays don't necessarily apply to many workers on the railroad. You might make double time and a half for working the holiday, let's say, but this isn't what we're talking about here. We're talking about quality of work life, the ability to take time off, be with our families, and have a life.
Where do things go from here? I mean, obviously you don't have a crystal ball, but you talk. That was Ron Kamenkow, who's the head of Railroad Workers United. You know, Steve, I was told Joe Biden is a union guy. You know, he said my daddy always told me work is about dignity and blah 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 blah. So you would think he'd be out loud and proud instead of having these behind the scenes meetings to have contingency plans. He would be out demanding that these corporate CEOs sweeten the pot, offer paid sick leave, so workers can go to a doctor, make your pay increases commensurate with inflation, and give these people something. You're making record profits. We're not hearing that, shockingly.
No, I got to tell you, the union on the railroads is probably one of the most important ones. Anything that involves transportation or supply chains right now has incredible power beyond just their local small, industry. It has far-reaching effects. So anything that's done here, especially something done deliberatively, especially if the other ones actually will abide the strike and support them, even in spite of Taft-Hartley, I think there's an opportunity there to really, really make a big dent. I just hope that it's beyond just, I want an extra $1 an hour or I want an extra day off. I really, really hope that they can see the leverage that they have as a union, and they have a lot. They have a lot more than they realize. If they just use that union struggle right now, use that union fight, use that all the tactics that they've known over the years, and say to hell with it and see what happens. That right there, anything that involves transportation and moving goods and services around the country is a very, very vital spot where a strike could do the kind of damage that might make people take notice and actually do something. But
Right.
Again, that's the only way that a general strike would ever work for us also as a collective, is if something like the railways and the airlines and other forms of multimodal type transportation went on strike. I think that'd be the big blow that we could use to bring real big change, not just to their union, but to America.
I want to stress something. And by the way, smash the like button. We got about 400 people watching. Only 242 have pressed that like button. Pretty crummy, if you ask me. Smash it. Smash that like button. They're not actually asking for another day off. They're actually asking for any time off. It's that bad. I want to read this tweet from Lauren. She's with the Washington Post and does good labor reporting. I spoke to Dennis Pierce last night, president of BLET, one of the two railroad unions that is preparing to strike on Friday. He said negotiations boil down to this. All we're asking is folks be able to go to the doctor without pay, but they have refused our proposals. Let that sink in, Steve. These railroad workers are being prevented from taking time off to go to a doctor unpaid. So this goes to what we've talked about forever, which is the American people are so beaten down, they're willing to just accept crumbs. It is, what is that? What is that Clinton quote or something like that? The soft bigotry of low expectations. The soft
I don't know
bigotry
if
of
that's Clinton, but it's definitely part of that. Yes.
It's somebody slimy. The soft bigotry of low expectations. So they're not even at an impasse over pay, which, by the way, the pay increases that these workers are being offered, not commensurate with staggering inflation, which we're about to get to with the next topic. Benefits, yes, but they're not really playing hardball on benefits. This is about time off because they don't have set time off. How do you have a family life? How do you have a life if you don't have set days off or you can't go to the doctor or things like that? It's crazy. So I hope they go on strike. We're going to try to cover it. I don't know where it would be because there's railroad workers all over America. So we're going to try and get out there wherever it is. But this could be big. And I agree with you. They do have leverage. From speaking with Ron and other railroad workers I spoke with, the unions are kind of all over the place. Some of them, there's 12 major railroad unions. So some of them just take whatever we can get, whereas some of them are, actually saying no. If they're not going to give us paid sick time or, better increases or scheduled time off, we'll go on strike. But to be clear, this is as much about the workers. It's also about the gaslighting because we don't have a president that stands with unions. We don't have a party. The Democratic Party doesn't give a fuck about unions. Hell, Nancy Pelosi, when Amazon Labor Union won a historic victory that we covered at Status Coup for over a year before they won, she didn't even congratulate them in Staten Island. I don't think she said a word. Nope. Maybe it has something to do with all the Amazon stock she owns or her husband owns. So I don't want to hear anymore, and it pisses me off when the AFL-CIO invites Biden to speak and Biden speaks in front of these unions on Labor Day. I don't know if these union bosses are just complete morons or they don't care because they're just trying to get in bed with the Democrats for, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. He's not your friend. He's showing he's not your friend right now. Your last thoughts on that?
So the AFL-CIO is got a national, which is very much still sold out to the Democratic Party. However, the local chapters of the AFL-CIO, one by one, are starting to rise up. And you look up there in Vermont, David Van Dusen and folks like Liz Medina are doing great work in terms of working both inside their union and outside the union to develop a class struggle type unionism. And they are doing it. They are really doing it. They're out there training people how to unionize, et cetera. So I wouldn't be too quick to throw the AFL-CIO in the trash. I think there's a resurgence. It's coming from the bottom up. That's a good thing. As far as these railway workers go, I mean, literally, if you think about it, if all transportation sectors could unite together and shut down, what a victory that would be for all of us, for all of the workers of America in general, whether you be white collar or blue collar. We need to see that kind of stuff. The people that have leverage need to use the leverage to extract and exact the price. And somebody had it perfect in the comments there. It's not just do damage, it's gain progress for we the people. So I'm standing in solidarity with those railway workers, and I hope more join in on with them.
And you know what I say, Steve?
Enough is enough. Enough
is enough.
And let's show Bernard here. It was just his 81st birthday, I think. Colin, I sent you his tweet. The railroad industry, which made $20 billion in profits last year, cannot continue to deny workers paid sick leave. It is unacceptable and dangerous for conductors and engineers to be on call for 14 consecutive days, 12 hours a day, and then get fired for going to a doctor. Well, Bernie, I have an idea. Why don't you tell your friend Joe to knock it off? Why don't you tell your friend Joe to side with the workers? Hell, maybe Joe should go out on the strike and stand with the workers. Maybe Joe should be calling out these greedy CEOs who made $20 billion last year while not giving their workers time to go to a doctor. Maybe he should call them out instead of using his board to offer crumbs to the workers. So I'm happy for Bernie's tweet. We need a little bit more. Not just from Bernie, from the rest of them. Can you imagine the domino effect, Steve? If this strike happened, there's 100,000 railroad workers in the country. Even if 20,000 went on strike, I mean, that's huge. I don't even think the corporate media even has. Well, yeah, they would ignore it, but some local media might cover it if you have that workers on strike. So very important.
If you delay products and services getting out to people, if they're inconvenienced in any way, it'll make the news. The strike won't make the news necessarily, but the inconvenience of not getting their Amazon package with next day air or whatever, next day ground, that'll definitely get media coverage. So
right.
I think they have no choice but to run the risk of being ignored by the media and get after it, because they just have so much leverage of all times right now, a time where we're coming out of a pandemic where you've got supply chains still burping and recovering. They have some power. They should leverage the hell out of it.
Absolutely. By the way, smash that like button. We'll read super chats at the end, so keep them coming. As of now, before we move on to the next topic, 3 out of 12 of the major railroad unions are rejecting the contract offer from the rail carriers. So that's power. That's power. And some of these railroad workers I spoke with, they're a rowdy bunch. So I would love to cover this. Onto another topic that is very, very important. Inflation numbers came out this morning. They are rising again. So the experts over at CNBC were telling us last month that things were getting a little better. This is from Yahoo. Inflation, consumer prices rise 8.3% over last year, tanking stocks and clinching rate increases. The consumer price index in August reflected an 8.3% increase over last year and a 0.1 increase over the prior month. The Labor Statistics Bureau said economists had expected the rise to be 8.1%. Colin, if we could show Heather, what's her name? Heather Long's tweet, which kind of encapsulates the numbers here. Gas prices are down, even though they're still high. At least they're down. But food is up 13.5% in the past year. Rent is up almost 7%. That's the largest since the year I was born, 1986. By the way, that 6.7%, that's not in major cities. If you're in Orlando, Miami, Chicago, LA, New York City, San Francisco, it's more than 6.7. Electricity is up almost 16%, largest since Reagan began destroying the country in 1981. And this one, health insurance up 24.3%, largest ever. And Steve, a lot of people watching might not like what I'm about to say. Speculation, but I'm going to say it. I wouldn't be so sure. Some of those healthcare costs going up don't have to do with the struggle with long COVID right now, because the media is not covering it. But the people that are covering it, I mean, people are really, really suffering with COVID long term. I called just to help a friend, John Hopkins, who has their COVID center. You can't get in there now for a year and a couple months. The wait list is so long. I mean, that's not the only reason healthcare costs are going up, but it would not surprise me if long COVID has something to do with rising healthcare costs. It's, to me, other than Flint and a few other things, to me, it's scandalous that you have a growing disabling event that's really not getting much attention. But, you know, the psychosis of this country, the media, the politicians, they just want it to be over. So they treat it as it's over. But almost 25% increase in healthcare costs. Yeah. Great job throwing more subsidies at Obamacare at the problem. Now, this inflation situation, Colin, let's pluck into Bloomberg so we could get Steve nice and angry. Bloomberg headline: they should do 100. Wall Street debates the Fed's next rate move. Markets would hate it versus the market might rally. 100-point basis move would reinforce credibility. Lawrence Summers, the head of the Neanderthals and the neoliberal squad, the former Treasury Secretary for Obama and was he Treasury Secretary for Clinton? Treasury Secretary for Clinton, head of the Council of something economics, for Obama and helped push NAFTA, repeal Glass-Steagall, and deregulation. So, Steve, you tell us, because by my numbers, the Fed has already increased interest rates 0.7% twice, and now they're talking about going up to 100.
Okay, so what is the goal of raising interest rates, right? They say it's to lower inflation. The goal of these interest rate hikes is, in fact, to create, and if you listen to the Federal Reserve's board minutes, you listen to the recordings, you already know they said the quiet part out loud, and that is that they want to create unemployment. It's intentional. It's intended to soften up our resolve so that we're willing to take whatever. It's to create not just unemployed people that don't want employment, but to take people that do want employment and make them involuntarily unemployed by creating an economy that literally doesn't support those workers. And this 100% violates the Fed's primary mandate, which is full employment and price stability. They have a dual mandate: full employment and price stability. Well, to get price stability, they're attacking full employment. Okay. And neither of these things have to be this way. That's number one. Number two, all spending is someone else's income. So when you raise interest rates, you're raising the rate of what somebody has to pay to somebody. And it's not just some random bank. What happens when you have these interest rate hikes are people that already have money are getting more money. So this is once again the wealthy clawing back any gains from the economy while simultaneously having the Fed kill the economy to ensure that the workers have even more volatility in their lives. So while we have strikes potentially going on in the railroads, we have simultaneously a Federal Reserve acting against its mandate by creating pain and suffering amongst the regular people, instead of Biden doing what he could do, which would be putting a price caps on things, literally whacking the cost of rent, literally whacking the cost of capping interest rates in credit card debt. They could do anything. That's not their goal. Their goal is to literally make us, and I swear to God, this is not hyperbole. I hope you all know when I say this stuff, I'm not just shooting from the hip. The goal here is literally to make people unemployed, to create mass unemployment. And the way to do that in their minds is to make it so expensive that they can lay people off because people can't spend. And as far as the healthcare costs and stuff like that go, this once again is a giveaway to the insurance companies and to the providers. Recently, I went to the doctor for an MRI and a CT scan. In that CT scan, back when I was growing up, these were things that were just covered as part of your diagnostic tests. But instead, to have this CT scan, I needed to sign a piece of paper acknowledging that after the payment was made, I would still owe $700. That is not inflation. That is gouging. This is insurance companies charging more and actually delivering less, putting that cost on regular people. And the cost is just ballooning and going through the roof. And so, believe me, this is all part of a process of them trying to kill the economy, starting with the Federal Reserve and the interest rate hikes. And believe me when I say this, it is going to be painful. There's no one championing our cause. It is all of them singing the same grotesque monetarist beliefs of, hey, interest rates, let's raise them. This isn't going to do for them what they think it's going to do for them. Raising interest rates actually gets it wrong. Raising interest rates creates inflation, because inflation is actually the government choosing to pay higher prices. Not that the prices have risen, but that the government chooses to pay higher prices when it buys things, and thereby setting the price that all other prices come from. So this right here is a really, really gross behavior by the Federal Reserve, but this is what neoliberalism gets you. Keep voting for neoliberals, keep getting neoliberal things. This is your present for getting President Biden in office. So, hoorah!
Steve, that was way too calm for me. I'm looking more for...
I had such a horrible mind.
You have a migraine. I'll let you off the hook, but I will get a little hooked off one more time. Oh, no, that's not it. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Federal Reserve Chair, just to kind of boil this down into non-fancy terms, the Federal Reserve Chair told Elizabeth Warren, who for once did something good, when she grilled him a couple months ago, and Elizabeth Warren said, isn't a lot of this inflation just companies raising rates because they're price gouging? And he said, well, yeah, they're raising rates because they can.
Yep.
I actually think we have that. Hold on.
They're raising prices because they can. They're raising prices because they can.
So when companies are price gouging, you just described on healthcare, definitely on food, electricity, which President Manchin has been responsible for electricity rates in West Virginia, so that his coal company can do very well and profit. Obviously, I mean, rental prices are out of control. That's not just the developers passing down costs of inflation. There doesn't seem to be any penalty for them. There doesn't seem to be any rate increases for them. The victim, or how we have to control their greed, is by putting people out of work, is by basically creating a recession. I mean, I just did a reporting trip a few weeks ago. I would argue we're already in a recession if you're a working person. The CNBC and ABC, CNN claim, oh, the jobs are good and things are doing dandy. Nah, if you go out there, things aren't good. It is bad for most people. But it's just really, really backwards, because essentially they've rigged the system so that in each of these boom and bust cycles, these greedy people could gouge. And then to lower the temperature of the economy, they're going to put the pain on the working class. At what point are people going to say enough of this and rise up?
Good question. I'd like it to start with the railways, huh? I mean, Jordan, the idea of interest rates going up, they're not only literally raising prices and gouging on one hand, but the same people that have money also are benefiting from the interest rate hikes. I mean, like, they're getting double whammy. The same groups are getting double whammies while we're getting crushed with higher prices and increased interest rates, and intended to put us in the streets. Literally, let's use that being in the streets to good use and go after them. Literally, we need to be in the streets. You're exactly correct.
Yeah. And by the way, if we want to talk about terrible companies, Starbucks is now offering student loan repayment programs for their non-union workers, but not their unionized workforce. So Starbucks is literally dangling goodies, good benefits for if you don't unionize. But if you've unionized, sorry, you're out of luck. We'll give you a little discount card around Christmas time. It's terrible. But I got to tell you, I mean, all of this sounds kind of like, all right, the inflation index, and this is going to be pain. I mean, the pain is coming. And Biden's trying to, dress it up because the midterms are in a month and a half. And obviously, you don't want to be previewing, hey, vote for us. But after that, you're fucked. But there's going to be a pain coming. And at the end of the day, I mean, I got a bridge to sell you if you think the Federal Reserve is really that independent from whoever the president is. Biden appoints the Federal Reserve Chair, just like Trump does.
The Board of Governors is 100%. It's got a .gov website. It is truly a. Yeah. Anyway, it's always a psyop. Fucking psyop. It's always a psyop. Fucking psyop. I know that voice. Who's that Crumbine guy?
That's you. But it's bad. And honestly, the other problem here is essentially, I mean, yeah, gas prices have gone down, but food prices haven't really gone down. Healthcare costs haven't really gone down. Electricity hasn't gone down. Wages peripherally have increased for certain sectors, but compared to inflation, your salary has gone down, or your hourly wage has gone down. And now, I mean, we see the response to this union movement. I'm happy we still have the Amazon workers fighting, Starbucks workers, Trader Joe's, but Amazon still hasn't recognized Amazon labor union. I just told you what Starbucks is doing. The federal government is doing nothing about these heavy-handed tactics. And and to be clear, you hear anything from Joe Biden or the Democratic Party? Hey, give us back the Senate, give us back the House. We're going to pass the PRO Act. No.
Yeah.
Like the public option. Just like the public option. Just like a $15 minimum wage, which at this point, is the conservative position. I think we need to start talking $25 minimum wage in terms of inflation. The PRO Act is the only thing that would actually give organized labor some teeth, would actually have more than some fines for companies that union bust. And that's gone. Yeah, they could say, oh, the House passed it, but it died in the Senate. I don't know. Maybe the president should fight for it. Your last thoughts on inflation and where we're headed?
You know, I take my kids to McDonald's because they stupidly like McNuggets. I hate McDonald's. I never shop there. But when you go there, I remember back when I was growing up, right around the time where Jordan was being born, ironically. And you could get a, Big Mac meal deal for $4.99. And that included an extra large or a supersized soda, supersized fries, and a Big Mac. Now you're talking about $11 and $12 for a meal deal. Okay. You have a family of 4, maybe a family of 5. You're talking about $50 or $60 to dine out at McDonald's. You can't make that shit up. But I guarantee you the cost of their goods did not go up that much. This right here is a function of neoliberalism. That word is not intended to be just a disparaging shot at Democrats, although it fits. It's really about privatization and leaving hands-off business and putting hands on people, making people the ones you discipline, not business. And this is going to continue until we get smart, stop selling out for the lesser evil, and start taking to the streets and making demands. This inflation stuff isn't going away anytime soon. It's because there's no monetary tool that can bring down inflation. Monetary tool isn't going to be the thing that makes some rich guy decide, okay, mark it down $1, mark it down $10. That's not the way it's going to work. The way it would have to work is government would decide to pay less price, would have to put price caps, would have to do something along those lines, because otherwise they're not changing. They're not changing. In fact, you're going to see gas prices, which are, you realize they sell these contracts out way off in the future. You're going to see gas prices going up as well again. You're going to see a lot of different prices going up, and they're going to try to bring the economy to its knees because they can. They're going to gouge the hell out of it until they get everything they can, and then they'll claim they've defeated inflation. And at that point in time, it'll be too late for many, many people, because the way it is now, I mean, this bullshit of a student loan, $10,000 didn't help a soul. There's many states are going to tax it. So the people don't have money in their pockets. They are going to have more bills coming. You've got student loans coming in, all kinds of other crazy shit coming in. Folks, it's going to be a bloodbath, and that's the deal. That is neoliberalism. Right wing, left wing, doesn't matter. It's neoliberalism, free market capitalism, privatization, you name it. And this is what's happening right here, right now. And your president and your Federal Reserve and your Congress are there to support that. So be ready to take to the streets, because that's the only way it's changing, friends. You're not voting your way out of this. Sorry.
Greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed.
Sorry, got to get those sound effects in. Real quick, I'll just end on, I also think there's a psychological element. I think the Federal Reserve, Biden administration, the donors, they want to take away that leverage that workers have. Remember,
absolutely.
Remember, you got the Great Resignation, which is a record number of people quitting, workers deciding, nah, I'm not taking it anymore. Well, if you start laying off, millions and millions and millions of people, possibly tens of millions of people, then you get back into a situation of beggars can't be choosers, and the government and the capitalist class have the leverage. So I think that's part of it too, what's going on here. They don't want the workers to get too much of that organizing energy and leverage. So thank you, Steve. I know you need to go. Tell people where they can find your work.
Please check us out. Saturday mornings, we have Macro and Cheese, the podcast. It's at realprogressives.org. Go under our media banner, and you will be able to find all of our good works there. I also do the Rogue Scholar Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at Real Progress in Action YouTube channel. And please, by all means, I didn't do a Grumble this past weekend. It just didn't work out for us, but we will have a Grumble this weekend. And you find me on Sundays at 2 p.m. here.
And that is part
Tuesday
of
nights.
Status Coup's action-packed schedule. including today.
Yeah.
Me and Steve.
Yeah.
Kim Brown
Yeah.
holding it down tomorrow, Wednesday at 5 o'clock Eastern. Tina and Ron, Thursdays at 5, followed by Tina's right-wing insanity report. I'll be back here on Friday. And then Sunday is Steve's Let's Get Ready to Grumble. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. You could go. I know you're not feeling great. I'll read super
Thanks,
chats.
man. Take care, everybody. Thanks.
Let me get to the super chats. Christina, $4.99. I'm from New York, and Trump has been getting away with crimes for decades. I hope this finally lands him in jail. Well, prosecution and conviction are two different things. I don't know if he'll be prosecuted. Excuse me. I don't know if he'll be convicted because this is America. But I think he's going to be prosecuted. I really do. I don't see how they put all this information out there at this point and then they don't prosecute him. Doesn't make sense. Humorous, $50. Thank you so much, Humorous. Christina, I agree with you 100%. A lot of my family lives in New Jersey. We've known about Trump for decades. If anyone had done 15 minutes of research, he would have never become the president of the United Corporations of America. I love when the people use my term. I agree. His supporters don't do a lot of research, but his crimes have been out in the open for many, many years, especially if you live in New York, New Jersey, up here. So thank you so much, Humorous, for that kind donation. Really appreciate it. Double K, 1999. Thank you so much, Double K. Really appreciate it. Jason Raleigh, $10. Jordan, your dedication to water-related issues is inspiring. I've lived in Las Vegas most of my life, and let's just say water scarcity and contamination are becoming more headline issues here. Honestly, they should be headline issues everywhere. Jackson is still a disaster. The mainstream media decided to cover it for 5 minutes, and then they stopped. And they literally are doing wall-to-wall coverage of the Queen dying and the body language between Prince Harry, Prince William, Meghan, and Kate. I literally saw MSNBC analyzing their looks at each other and their body language. Is Harry and William reconciling? Does this look mean that? Pathetic. While Jackson doesn't have any clean water or water in parts of Jackson, there's a major water problem in New York City, which we've been covering, which we'll have another video tomorrow about. Obviously, Flint, I'm writing a book on right now, which as I write and just kind of relive everything I've found out and reported, this is the biggest government cover-up of the 21st century. The Flint water crisis is the biggest government cover-up of the 21st century. Frankly, if Watergate didn't involve a president, it has nothing on Flint. Nobody died from Watergate. I don't even think Watergate was that scandalous compared to what happened in Flint. So we are definitely going to continue covering as many of these water contamination stories as we can. There's a reason hedge funders are trading water, and water is one of the increasing commodities they're trading because they believe there at some point might be scarcity in clean water. And what have wars been fought over? Oil. You don't think a war can be fought over water? Just saying. And by the way, if there is a railroad strike, we're going to do everything we can to get out there. I've been really busy working on this book. I'm trying to get quite a lot of some of the early chapters done. I'm trying to get a publisher. So that's been keeping me busy. But if there's a railroad strike, I'm going to do my best to get out on the road or somebody to get out on the road to cover that railroad strike. Alert. Thursday night, 7 o'clock Eastern will be our members' call. So Thursday night, if you're a Status Coup member, you know the drill. You will get the link via Zoom in your email to join us on our members' call. If you are not a Status Coup member, sign up. We need to grow. We need to keep growing our membership. Membership is how we fund our on-the-ground reporting. Consider signing up. You can become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. At statuscoup.com/join. You get great perks, including our monthly members call, also behind the scenes videos just for members. We posted one yesterday. That's up at statuscoupmember.com. If you're a member, statuscoupmember.com. Behind the scenes video would be. We have our Discord for members. So a lot of great perks. And most importantly, you are helping us keep the lights on and helping us fund the on-the-ground reporting. We just had Lewis in Jackson, Mississippi, covering the water crisis there. Ty was out on Labor Day covering the water. The big Labor Day rally with Amazon workers, Starbucks workers. John Farina, who's a freelancer, did stuff for us from a New York City apartment complex where they found arsenic, high levels of arsenic in the water. So we are covering as many stories as we can, but it's expensive. So if you have $5 to $10 a month, statuscoup.com/join, statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 a month. Thank you for watching. Kim Brown will be live tomorrow at 5 o'clock Eastern time. So tune in then for Kim and have a good night.